Yeah. Lakers, hopefully we're not talking about, what do they do from here? But we might be talking about it tomorrow. The Suns are talking about it right now. And we touched on it briefly last week. There's a very obvious and dramatic changing of the guard going on in the Western Conference right now, where the Nuggets are clearly in the meat of their prime. They're the defending champs. They're a pretty darn good pick to go win it again this year. They're going to have the guy that won 3 of the last 4 MVPs as their best player. And then you see what Minnesota did to Phoenix last night. You see what Oklahoma City is doing right now. There is a clear change in the Western Conference. New Orleans feels like they're kind of up and down because of health issues. Memphis is going to get Ja. All the teams that for a long time were that second tier are now the first tier, and the Lakers and the Suns and the Warriors and maybe even the Clippers, if they can't figure this out, they're going to drop into that second tier. And the Suns are facing with the Lakers, maybe not quite to the same degree because of economics, but what do you do with aging older players and not a lot of moves after that?
Look at this. Look how crazy this is. This is what they have committed for the next 2 years. I'm talking about the Phoenix Suns, okay? They already have, and yes, there's some players with some player options, things like that. Okay, but that's chump change. It's 3 here, 2 here, 2 here, something like that. They have $190 million committed to next year. They got swept in the first round of the playoffs. They got $193 million committed to the following year. 193 committed to 2025, 2026. By then, KD's in his 17th, 18th season, whatever it is. They're paying KD 51, Bradley Beal 50, and Devin Booker 49 for the next 2 years. Now, it's going to 54, 53, and 53 the following year after that. This kind of, if the NBA, if you were able to do this before, first off, you got to pick the right players. If you want to fast forward to a championship or a chance at winning a championship, and you want to have 3 stars, they better be the right 3 players. They better complement each other. They better be with the right organization. They better have a good head coach. The front office better get the right role players. The Phoenix Suns, Matt Ishbia came in and bought the Phoenix Suns and tried fast forwarding to a championship. You know what they gave up? This is kind of crazy. I saw this a little bit earlier. For those who try to, by the way, compare him to a super team, that's not a super team. Suns traded for Kevin Durant, Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, and control of over 5 first-round picks to Brooklyn for KD. For Bradley Beal, 4 first-round swaps to Washington for Bradley Beal. They don't have a first-round pick till after 2030. This is the roster that you have. You got the wrong stars on your team. You got the wrong players as far as age and health. I don't think the Lakers, this is not, I don't have any comps to the Lakers and the Phoenix Suns other than are you in your window? Because the Lakers at least have not demolished themselves.
No, they're not in as deep of a hole, but I wonder if they aren't in a similar hole because I want to read this. This is a source inside the Suns that said their new owner, Matt Ishbia, quote, has no idea what he's doing when it comes to basketball. It's like Looney Tunes around here. It's felt unsustainable since he arrived. He's a good guy and everything, I think, but he's just very involved, too involved. I know he played at Michigan State, but I'd venture to say he has no idea what's going on when it comes to basketball, yet he's making a lot of the big decisions. If your ownership is bad, you're in deep trouble. It doesn't mean that occasionally you can't catch lightning in a bottle and have a good season here or there, or you get exactly the right player that kind of pulls you up out of a bad spot. But if ownership is bad, and if ownership is bad and involved, and almost as bad, ownership is bad and not involved in putting the right people in the right spot and then pulling back, there is no easy fix because we'll just go get that guy. Okay, it needs to be the exact right guy at the exact right time with the exact right roster that has some built-in safety valves in it to where there's a supporting cast or anything. But if you get this top-heavy thing and it doesn't work, look at what the Clippers are doing right now. Look at what the Suns are doing right now. Look at where the Warriors are right now. Look at where the Lakers are right now. You have some super incredible headlining guys, but beyond that, it's not good.
Well, and those headlining guys, we talked a little bit about it last week. The torch is already, this league is becoming, this is Jokic's league. It's
Sure.
Anthony Edwards' league. It's guys that are 28 and under.
Luka.
It's not 35 and up.
No.
Or 32 and 34 and up, something along those lines, plus injury prone. I will say this.
And who's going to be the person to say, okay, this is the path forward? It needs to be the general manager, or it needs to be the owner, or ideally an owner who selects the general manager who has a vision and turns those people loose, that you're not constantly changing tack, or, hey, just give up everything for that 35-year-old guy who makes $50 million a year.
Here's I would say.
It doesn't work.
Here's what I would say is the good news for the Phoenix Suns. Now, we're going to find out if Matt Ishbia is smart enough to realize this. I just went and he's on that second apron, whatever. The dude's not afraid to spend money, but it's how you spend your money. If Matt Ishbia realizes in a year or 2 years, I gotta get the hell out of the way here. The money that I'm spending, I need to go spend it on a front office. I go spend as much money as I want on a front office and then let them come in here and make those decisions. That, I think, is going to be the question mark with him, is does he adjust and realize if I'm spending my money, that's not a bad thing. I just got to spend it towards resources of a front office and not players.
So when do you do it, and who do you know who to go? If the Lakers win tonight, we're going to talk about Game 6. If the Lakers can extend the series a little further, maybe you could tell your story about, hey, listen, we just lost to the best team again. They're likely to win an NBA championship. We've just run into the best team. We're not quite as good as that team. Can you go into the offseason and say, we're going to nibble around the edge. We're going to try to get marginally better in our supporting cast. Maybe we'll get a better coach. We're going to try to move some pieces around. I think if you go out there tonight and you lose, I think the writing's kind of on the wall that you're going to have to reevaluate what it is you're doing. But what are the options? What are the options that AD's here, and you want him to be because he's had a phenomenal year.
Yeah.
I think it's far more likely than not that LeBron opts in and maybe they tack another year in.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a coaching change. Maybe there isn't. Maybe Russell's gone. Probably. But the nuts and bolts of this team and the people that are going to make the decisions on the nuts and bolts of this team are going to be the same. LeBron James is very likely to be back. Anthony Davis will be back. Austin Reeves will be back. The coaching staff may or may not be back. But you're not like you're going to reshuffle the entire roster and have 8 or 9 new faces.
No, that's not happening.
So what changes? If the last couple of years you've been 7, 8, 9, 10, somewhere in there, fighting in the play-in, you got your way out, you won a series here or there, you run in the night. What changes?
Can I ask you a question? Let's say they didn't play Denver in the first round, and let's say they ended up losing that game against the Pelicans, and they ended up in that OKC bracket, and they beat the Oklahoma City Thunder. It's a big if, but I think people would have probably
certainly feel better about that than the Nuggets.
Lakers would beat the Oklahoma City Thunder. And then the second round, it was Clippers or Dallas, and you got to, again, avoid Minnesota or Denver and any of these other teams. I won't even, whatever the result was of the Dallas Mavericks and the Minnesota Timberwolves, or the Dallas Mavericks and the Clippers, whatever the result is in that series, I think there are a lot of teams that are kind of in a similar spot. The problem with the Lakers spot is everything's got to go perfect. The problem with the Lakers spot is, let's say you lose to Denver. That's 2 years in a row you lost. And Denver goes on to win the whole thing. That's 2 years in a row that somebody can make the argument, yeah, but you lost to the NBA champions or the best team out there. You lost to what Nikola Jokic, go look at the great players that have ever played this game. And there are times where you just can't win a championship because that player is at their peak, and that's Jokic. The Lakers' issue is, am I getting 76 games from Anthony Davis next year? Am I getting X amount of games from Bron? I think Bron played over 70. The problem is the Lakers aren't getting any younger. Other teams look like they're going up. I don't think much is going to change in the offseason. What you do with D'Angelo Russell will change. Coaching staff probably changes. But the overall, hey, there's 3 or 4 teams that got a chance to win an NBA championship. Are Lakers going to be in that conversation?
No.
I don't think so.
Well, they're not in the conversation right now. I get it. It could break a different way. The fact of the matter is, this is, I don't want to say the third, this is multiple years in a row you're knocking around the play-in. There's no reason to think that's not what it'll be next year, because there is no major change on any. The coaching change is the biggest change.
Can
right?
I tell you when the major change happens? The major change happens when LeBron James decides he doesn't want to play anymore, or doesn't want to play for the Lakers anymore. And until
Are
that
you secretly
happens,
rooting for that? Because I don't disagree, Al. I wonder if that isn't thank goodness. Not that he's not awesome, not that he's not great, not that he hasn't, but it allows you to make, and it's his decision. You didn't say, no, move on. Mm-hmm. It's his decision to say, I want to go play over there. And now I can, all right, Anthony Davis is our best player. How are we going to make it better for him?
I think it makes it a lot more interesting. I think it makes the team a lot younger. I think you could start looking towards the future. I think you could start building towards a team that you feel like, okay, what's it look like 2-3 years from now? I think you could start identifying the next star to play with Anthony Davis. It's a lot more interesting because I've already kind of seen the script here for the last couple of years.
And
Again,
the
I don't
people
think that's
making
gonna
the
happen.
decision
I don't think that's
are
gonna
the
happen.
same people making the decisions. So you'll get similar decisions. We get what the next coach is going to get 2 or 3 because that's kind of the number that you get when you come through here. We're going to keep a team together.
You're right about the 2 or 3. Literally 3 on the high end, 2 on the that's about right.
And oh, by the way, the shuffling of the offseason, it's like, we're going to add a bunch of, surefire, the Westbrook, Howard, Melo. Okay, old and experienced. Well, that didn't work. Okay, we're going to go young and go to what we have now. Okay, well, that's not really working out. Nothing fundamentally changes. And this kind of goes back to what we're talking about with Ishbia a little bit, that if ownership is where it is and it's the same decision, maybe you'll get a different decision, but the process is the same. James may change it in just because he decides I want to go over there. Okay, but replacing James, getting the next guy, surrounding him with the right players, Same. 2 years for this coach, 3 years for that coach, this supporting cast. And I'm not talking about the headliners. I'm talking about the guys that round out the roster. Every 2 years, we're going to shuffle that deck over and over again. It's the same thing. And you're getting the same result. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, floating around. Good year, you're near the high of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Bad year, you're down on the bottom. It's the same. The pieces have all moved, but the results are the same.
Well, we can't. The only thing that they could say, look, we cashed in a championship in 2020 and we got to the Western Conference Finals last season. That even though these swings are all over the place,
the title for sure, because they won the title. So that
that team was also stacked. That was a really good team. And that was actually the construction of that roster was a really, really good construction.
Other than the
roster.
2 guys, it's long gone. And like you said, health and issue and everything else, but everything else has changed. And oh, by the way, it's 5 years ago. It's not like it was last year. I think was more really good timing and a really good draw. That what you got last year could have easily been this year with one basket going a different way.
I still think that the Lakers are very, very – their roster this year is a very competitive roster. The problem is you can have a question mark about the coach, and then you need everything to go perfect as well on top of that. That's not typically how you compete for a championship.
Ohtani might be the best.